Okay. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha bhajanti ananya manasah jnatva bhutadim avyayam. Okay, this is verse 13. So if you remember, what are the verses that we covered in this particular chapter, Adhyaya, the ninth one, is where Krishna is trying to tell him about what is called as Raja Vidya. Previous one was Akshara Brahma Yoga, the eighth one, right? Where it talks about the eternal supreme self as the single undestroyable, indestructible one. That consciousness is that single indestructible one. That was on the previous chapter. In this chapter, he is trying to explain how do you perceive this, and he's slowly trying to build the aspect of devotion in, although it is Raja Vidya, the aspect of devotion is also slightly, slowly starting to be introduced here to Arjuna, because in the 11th chapter, only when devotion is there, when your eyes open in devotion, will you be able to perceive the glory, the joys and the glories of what this world is, this creation is, and the creator. To perceive and to experience, one has to slowly develop devotion. Only jnanam may not help entirely. There has to be this combination, jnanam leading to devotion, devotion leading to jnanam. It's something that goes together. Those who remember having heard this Bhaja Govindam many years ago, at the start, C. Rajaji, who was at the time, at a point in time, was the president of India, Rajagopalachari. He no, was he the president or was he the
Governor General? He was the first
the
Governor
governor
General.
general, the first governor general after Mountbatten? Yeah, after Lord Mountbatten. So he actually gives a prelude to the Bhaja Govindam that is being sung by M.S. Subbalakshmi Amma. So in that he talks about jnana and bhakti. The way in his inimitable style, he explains the whole idea of jnana and bhakti, and he says how both are two sides of the same coin, right? Because one, when you develop one, the other automatically develops. So it depends on each individual's capacity and inclination. Some may be inclined to develop knowledge, understanding. I want to question everything. I want to understand. I want to go into the roots of why like this, why like this. And then when you go through that, which is what the Upanishads offer, which is what the Shastras offer in the form of Upanishads and Vedanta. But at some point, when this understanding dawns, slowly the understanding dawns, there is some devotion that comes into the heart. Right? Those who would stay away saying that I don't want to go to temples, I don't want to listen to Nama Sankirtanam, I don't believe there's a God, I don't want to, I see God in people around me, I see God in creation, this is God for me. I make somebody happy, and that is God. I see God. Why are people wasting milk in Abhishekam in the temples? Feed the poor with milk instead of that. There are people who think differently, and that's also all right. So what? But there is still devotion. There is devotion towards the act that you're doing, devotion towards the object of service. You're serving towards somebody, there's devotion there. So devotion slowly will develop. Some people may get devoted to the form of the Lord. Some people may get devoted to doing service, Daridra Narayana, right? They call the poor as Daridra Narayana. They look at Gandhiji gave a name called Harijan. The people who are poor, they're called as Harijan, the people of the Lord. So whichever way we perceive, there is a certain devotion in whatever you do, right? So that rises in your heart. So in this chapter, he's trying to bring that devotion, and he's keeping himself as the object of devotion. Because right there at that point, imagine this is happening in the battlefield, and only when there is a certain devotion to the teacher, will we be able to also understand what is being said, right? Devotion doesn't necessarily mean we have to fall at the feet, pada puja பண்றது, மாலை போடுறது, ஆரத்தி எடுக்கிறது எல்லாம் இல்ல. Devotion is a certain reverence, a certain regard, a certain respect, a certain love. Why? Because there is a love for this knowledge and this understanding that you're receiving. When that develops in the heart, from the individual whom it is being sought, there is a certain devotion that develops. So Arjuna is slowly, Krishna is trying to bring him into that mode and the mood of devotion. See, imagine the first few chapters, Arjuna was, in the first few chapters, Arjuna was given a lot of knowledge and understanding by Bhagavan. And we have to bring this context again. He's standing in the battlefield and he started off saying, I'm afraid, I'm worried, I'm scared, I don't want to kill my own people. From there, he's brought him slowly here, where he is now settled, calm. Now he's asking intelligent questions back to Krishna. Imagine they're still sitting in the war field. Okay, they're still in the battlefield, and it's maybe the conches have been blown. Actually, the conches have been blown. The first few verses, you notice the different conches of Dhananjaya, Krishna's conch has been blown, Yudhishthira's conch has been blown, and several other conches have been blown, which means the start of the battle cry, which means the battle cry has been made, start has been done. And they're still there, and they're discussing this. Now, imagine that Arjuna has to calm down in his way he is perceiving this, and he's asking intelligent questions. And then he is developing this heart of devotion in Arjuna. Why? Because he's wanting to give him an experience later, which we know now in the 11th chapter is of Vishwarupa Darshanam. So he is also preparing him that way, right? So when you look at this, he's saying, oh Arjuna, in the previous verses we talked about how those who are stuck in the material world, thinking that that is going to offer them everything, get deluded in that. They keep going in that cyclical nature of things. Now, those who know me as this divine form, they take refuge in me. So he calls them as Mahatmanaha, those great souls, or those sadhus or sannyasis or seekers or sadhakas who know this as the truth, that I am the refuge. I means this truth, this knowledge, this understanding. We have spoken about this at length, what this I means, right? This I is not this individual form that is standing there. It is a representation of cosmic principle. When you find refuge in that in whatever form, he says that, O Partha, O Arjuna, is when you know that that is the origin of all creation, then you take shelter in that, and then their mind remains fixed in that. We spoke about this also, right? To be able to meditate upon something, there must be a certain love that should develop in your heart. Do you think you'll be able to meditate without being able to will you be able to meditate without a certain association of some kind to the object of meditation? Like, for example, if you don't like thinking about you don't like thinking about a certain form, an ugly form, for example, right? You won't meditate upon it because you won't find joy meditating upon it. We'll always meditate upon something that we find joy in thinking about, right? Be it the form of Devi or Krishna or Shiva or Narayana, whatever form, it's a form that pleases our mind. Only then you'll be able to meditate upon it. Otherwise, the mind will want to move away from it, right? So here he is saying that those who are able to bring that devotion in their heart and have that love and feeling, that bhakti, their mind will be able to reside in me, which means thinking about me. Anything that happens during the day, see, a lot of people have developed this thing. Whenever something happens, they'll say, Ayyo Rama, Ayyo Narayana. Although they'll say Ayyo, but then they'll immediately follow it with Rama or Narayana or Krishna or Shiva, whatever. You've developed this habit from childhood, right? You see people who sneeze, sometimes they'll sneeze and they'll say Narayana or Gurudeva or Krishna. What is happening? You've developed this habit unconscious. Consciously, you've started to develop, but then later it becomes an unconscious remembrance. You may say Narayana, you may not think of the form of Narayana 9 out of 10 times, but that one time you think, right? At least that one time you think when you say Narayana, then you actually get the form in your mind. Because name and form are always related. So he is saying that when the Mahatmas or Sadhus or Sadhakas like us, we develop that love and devotion, our mind is able to stay in that form. Right? So that is the verse 13. Now he continues to explain, verse 14 he says, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. Nitya yukta upasate. Continuously continues to worship me. Nitya yukta means to be engaged, constantly engaged. Nitya means continuously. Upasate, worships me. Who Satatam kirtayanto mam, the ones who sing my glories, which means those who do nama sankirtanam, those who do Bhagavad, they sing the glories. In fact, it's very beautiful that we have we had a guru who just joined us. He probably had to leave, but he joined, he comes in a parampara or a family who does Nama Sankirtanam. His father is similar to Shivakumar Mama, we know. His father also regularly conducts and performs Nama Sankirtanam and bhajans and stuff like that, which is very engaging in the names of the Lord. And we discussed about this last week also, about the importance of Nama Sankirtanam. Now, he says, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavrataha. Those who, by means of Nama Sankirtanam, engage in me. Dridhavrataha, with great determination, with a strong will that I want to do this. It can get boring. See, anything that you do repeatedly can get boring. Right? Be it dhyanam, be it Nama Sankirtanam, be it anything that you do, it can get quite boring after a little while. And but it's with determination that you hold on to it. Even doing satsang like this can get boring after a little while, right? It can it can get a little repetitive. And then why, okay, I'm chanting, okay, you do japa, for example. Every day I'm doing japa 108,008. What is there? Because the mind wants to look for something new, something fresh, something interesting. Give me a new japa, give me a new mantra, give me a new method, give me a new technique, give me a new ritual, give me a new text to read. Mind needs something different every time. How do you hold on to the subject? By doing something new in the same subject. Like if you're bored of singing about Krishna, sing about Devi. If you're bored of singing about Devi, which is why Adi Shankara has given so many different deities to worship, at least the main 6 ones he has given. So you, Ganapati, things sing on Ganapati. So which is why you see, when you do a whole Nama Sankirtanam, you sing about so many different deities. Why? At different times you can bring the concept or the idea of different deity and think about that, and then your mind can think on that. When do you do this? When you have this determination. I want to retain my thoughts on this. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavrataha, with determination, namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. With humbly, with bowing down to me, my devotee with devotion always continues to worship me. With that namasyantascha, which means namasyantaha is by humbly bowing down to me, by doing namaskara to me. Mam bhaktya, he worships me and continues to do that. Nitya yukta upasate. That is verse 14. Verse 15 says, Jnana yajnena chapyanye yajanto mam upasate ekatvena prithatvena bahudha vishvato mukham. See, this is very interesting, this particular verse, because it introduces the idea of different forms of approaching the Lord and different ways. Jnana yajnena cha jnana yajne cha yajnena cha api anye yajanto mam upasate ekatvena prithaktvena bahudha vishvato mukham. So either through jnana yajna or, so what is jnana yajna? Now he is talking to Arjuna, and this is a time when yajna is popular, yajna is known. Arjuna knows what a yajna means, a ritual or a sacrifice. He knows that. Regularly they do this, right? But now he is telling him this is jnana yajna, which means what are you sacrificing? For knowledge. Jnana yajna doesn't mean that you're sacrificing knowledge. Jnana yajna means you're sacrificing that which you think as knowledge, as I, as this world, this mind, this body, my name, my aspirations, my desires, my name, my title, all of this, and my different stupid ideas that I have about myself, all of this I'm offering in the yajna. For what? For jnanam. So the yajnam that I'm performing internally within me for the development of jnanam. In fact, Chinmayananda used to conduct jnana yajna, in which he would teach Bhagavad Gita 100 days. I think this is where he became popular. In Bombay, I remember hearing this, that he would conduct 100 days jnana yajna. Which means in 100 days he will teach Bhagavad Gita, he will go through the chapters and he will teach that in 100 days. And he would call that event as a jnana yajna. 100 days, about 3 months roughly, right? And every day people will throng, hundreds of people, thousands of people will go and sit in his sessions to listen. In his very authoritative style he will deliver, right? So he used to call that as jnana yajna, which means it is the burning desire to know. So you are constantly burning this thing within you, this desire to know, to understand. And that process is kindled when somebody teaches these things and presents these ideas, it kindles those ideas within us. So you do jnana yajna. So what Krishna is telling Arjuna, you don't have to go for this. Those rituals that you're doing is kamya karma, kamya yajna. I want putra kameshti yajna. I want dasha ashwamedha yajna. I want rains. There is a yajna. I want what is this? Vachashravas. Vachashravas did what? Jitendriya yajna. No, not Jitendriya. Vishwajit yajna. Nachiketa's father. Nachiketa's father did Vishwajit yajna. He offered all the cows, and the story is there, right? Kathopanishad story. He did Vishwajit Yajna. So there are many yajnas like that for attaining some desire in the known realm, in the realm of the 14 lokas. Okay, nobody will desire, of course, the lower 7 lokas, obviously the higher 7 lokas, and some form of some aspiration to acquire something which is not with you right now. That which is not with you, you're trying to acquire it. But Jnana Yajna is to know that what you are. Jnana Yajna is a yajna that you do to understand the truth of who you are. It's not, you're not trying to acquire something from the outside. It is present, you're just trying to know it. So that is Jnana Yajna. So he is telling him, Krishna is telling Arjuna, Jnana Yajnena. So some people are interested in Jnana Yajna. So those who are firm in wanting to understand everything. But those who had come for the Panchadwaraka Yatra, you remember, or even if you go to a lot of these Namadwar, those who are familiar with Namadwar, Sri Muralidharan Swami's group, or ISKCON group, or any of these Krishna Premi, Sri Krishna Premi's group and all, you'll see a lot of these people are so filled with bhakti. So you go and talk to them the ideas of Upanishads, they won't be so interested because they find it very dry. But you talk to them Srimad Bhagavatam, you talk to them Krishna Leela, you talk to them Devi Bhagavatam, all of these things you talk, it makes them feel very joyful. Because they want to think about the Leelas of the Lord, they want to think about different stories about God and the mythological stories, etc. They love listening to all of that. And they want to have their mind keep thinking about that. So those are people like how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, they are like people who are wanting to taste sugar. There's the difference between, if Bhagavan is as sweet as sugar, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I don't want to become Bhagavan like the Advaitins. I want to taste Bhagavan. I want to continue to taste the rasa. Right? I want to keep listening to the Leelas of Bhagavan. I want to keep enjoying that. I want to keep having tears of joy listening to the Leelas of Lord. So I want to taste him like the sugar. So I am okay to be separate from Bhagavan so that I can taste the joys of the Lord. I don't want to become sugar. Right? So Jnana Yajnana. So those Jnana Yajnas are like those who want to understand through knowledge and say, yes, I and he are one. Saha aham, soham. Or Tattvamasi, aham brahmasmi. I want to revel on that where I recognize that I am nothing but that supreme. That supreme is operating within me. And then there are yajanto mam upasate. There are some who use different methods to worship me. Some see me as one, ekatvena, which means advaita, ekatvena. Some see me as many, prithaktvena, different from them. Right? So this is where we talk about one end is advaita, where we say that I am one with you, O Lord. The other end, we say that the Lord and I are separate, but the Lord is my everything. I am a part of him. He is my everything. But I enjoy this process of Sankirtanam, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. I enjoy this process of worshipping him, singing his glories, talking about him. Right? Prithaktvena, different. Bahudha Vishwato Mukham. And then there are others who see me in this cosmic form. in this Bahudha Vishwato Mukham, in this whole world, in this creation, they see me as different forms. Which means these are people who say that, I don't, like we said earlier, Daridra Narayana, say that, oh, there are so many poor people who need help. I see God in them. Making them happy makes, I think making them happy will make God happy. Or in their happiness, I see happiness, what you refer to as God. That joy I get. He says, doesn't matter whichever form you approach, right? Any form that you approach, as long as your intention is to look for that what you call as God. You have a definition of God in whatever way. You define that and you look for that and you pursue that, you are a spiritual person. If you pursue that joy, that truth, that knowledge, that understanding, if you pursue that either through Jnana Yajna or Bhakti Yajna in oneness or in very in different between you and the Lord, or in this whole Vishwato Mukham, the Bahudha Vishwato Mukham, in the varied forms, variegated forms in this world, in whichever way you approach, there are different people who approach me differently. Okay. Doesn't matter whichever way you approach me, it is still me that you're approaching. Me means that cosmic principle, that truth, that understanding. Then he goes on to the 16th and the 17th one. Here now he is introducing boldly. Now here Krishna is boldly introducing himself as everything that Arjuna perceives. Aham kraturaham yajnah swadha aham aushadham mantra aham eva ajyam aham agnihi aham hutam. Aham kratuhu, which means I am the ritual. Aham yajnah, I am the sacrifice. Aham swadha, what you put, the oblation that you give, the objects that you put, the navadhanyam, the food, the whatever that you give into the yajna, that is me. Aham aushadham, I am the medicinal herbs that you put into the yajna. Then aham ajyam, mantra aham. So the mantras that you chant in a ritual, that is me. Aham eva ajyam, I am the butter, the ghee, clarified butter, the ghee that you put. Aham hutam, the act of offering is also me. Right? This was there in the second chapter also. Brahmarpanam brahmahavihi brahmagno brahmana hutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. Brahman, 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 Brahman. Everything is Brahman. Now here he is saying everything is I. Okay. So what is he saying here is, when he says that I am the yajna, I am the oblation, I am the fire, I am the ghee, I am the act of offering, everything. How do you perceive this? This you have to go to maybe one small story of Yajnavalkya Rishi, Janaka, or King Janaka. So King Janaka, King Janaka is a great king, and he's got a lot of riches and all of that, and suddenly there is a huge war. So a neighboring king or some king who's been wanting to wages war on King Janaka, and then King Janaka fights that war. He bleeds, a lot of his people die, and then he is defeated in the war. Everything from him, the kingdom is all taken away, and then he becomes like a beggar, and then he's driven away from his kingdom. He runs and finds shelter in some faraway kingdom, and there he is completely emancipated. He is completely exhausted, drained, and he sits in a line outside a dharmashala where they're feeding food. Now he is so famished. He wants food. He goes, sits there, takes a small bowl from somewhere and receives the food. And when he's about to eat the food, a crow comes and knocks off the bowl from his hand. That food falls off. And now he's crying and weeping and saying, "Oh my God, what did I do to get such a disastrous life? What has happened from me? For me, who was such a great king, now I've become all of this." Right? So he's crying and weeping and all of that, and suddenly he wakes up. Suddenly he wakes up and he's like, "Oh, where am I? Where am I?" And then touches and feels his bed and realizes that he's sleeping on his royal bed. And then he calls out his sentries to make sure that people are there. And then the sentries come running in. He said, "What happened, king? What happened?" And then he realizes, okay. And then he sees around, and then he comes to a certain sense that he was dreaming. Okay. Now the story later goes that he has this conversation with his guru Yajnavalkya, and says, "What is this that is happening to me?" And then in this whole dream, this Janaka, where was King Janaka? He was in his kingdom. Where did the war happen? The battlefield was in his mind. Who was the uh, the other kingdom, or the enemy kingdom that came and attacked on him? That is his mind. Who got defeated? The Janaka in his mind. Then when he ran away from the kingdom and looking for asylum somewhere, where did he go? In his mind. When he was begging, who was he begging from? Somebody in some other kingdom. He was sitting outside. Where was he sitting? Outside a dharmashala. He was sitting in his mind. When he got the food, where did he get it? In his mind. When the crow came, who came? The crow. Who is the crow? It is his mind. And the crow knocked out the ball of his hand. Where did it fall? On the earth? Again, where is that earth? It is in his mind. And he started crying and weeping. All of this, where does this happen? Where does this happen? In his mind. And who is playing all of those characters? Including Janaka, the king who came and fought, the people who got defeated, the soldiers who died, and then he ran away, and the other place he went to, the asylum he sought with another king or another place, including the crow that came and the bowl that fell off. All of that is Janaka. So when one wakes up from what we call this as our waking, now he is woken up to this state. Okay. And then he goes to his guru and says, but it was so vivid. He tells his guru, that was so vivid. Now I don't know if I am that beggar who's begging in that kingdom there and is crying and weeping, or am I this king sitting here and enjoying the riches of my kingdom? Who am I? Because that felt so real when it happened, and this also feels real. And then a guru comes and says that neither that is real nor this is real. Right? The one who experienced that and this, the witness of both that and this, that is the truth. Find that out. So he brings his attention to that within us, which experiences currently, right now, I'm experiencing this, and I'm also experiencing the dream state. I'm experiencing something when I'm sleeping, when I'm waking, when I'm upset, when I'm low, when I'm high, when I'm happy, when I'm joyful, when I'm sad, when I'm depressed. Something that is knowing all of these things. He says, that is the truth which is you. So in the same way, when Bhagavan says that I am aham kraturaham yajnah swadhaham aham aushadham mantroham ahamevajyam aham agniraham hutam. I am all of this in this ritual or sacrifice that you talk about. You're doing Brahma, what is it? Brahma Arpanam, Brahma Havihi. That shloka, right? Brahma Arpanam, Brahma Havi, Brahmagno, Brahmana. Brahma Yote Enagantavya, Brahma Karma Samadhina. I am there as this Brahman, as this consciousness in everything. So one who wakes up to this, like how Yajnavalkya is telling Janaka, that you are neither that dream Janaka nor this waking Janaka. Don't mistake that when you woke up from that dream, now this Janaka is true also. No. There is another dream that you're dreaming right now. You need to wake up from this. When you wake up from this, then you will see all of this is that single Bhagavan or Paramatma that is pervading all of this. Right? This is one way of looking at it. One way is say that, yeah, dream was dream, this waking state is real, but that's all right. For somebody who is able to see Bhagavan everywhere, Vishwato Mukham, when somebody is able to see Bhagavan everywhere, for him, he is having Vishwarupa Darshanam all the time. Arjuna had only once in the battlefield. But the realized masters or Mahatmas or the Bhaktas of Bhagavan, they are having this Vishwarupa Darshanam all the time because they're seeing him everywhere, all the time. Everywhere and everywhen. Sahasra Shirsha Purushah Sahasraksha Sahasrapat Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva Atyatishta Dashangulam. So everywhere and everywhen. Sahasra Shirsha Purusha. All these thousands and thousands of heads of people that you see is that Purusha, is that Bhagavan. So he is there in everything. That is what he's pointing out. And then he goes on to say, Pitahamasya Jagato Mata Dhata Pitamaha Vedyam Pavitram Omkara Ruksama Yajurevacha. Pita Aham Asya Jagataha. Of this world, I am the Pita. Mata Dhata Pitamaha. I am the mother. Right? Because Krishna would have thought that if I told I am the father, then he say, okay, where is the mother? So அப்படி கேட்டக்கூடாது அர்ஜுனன்னு சொல்லி Krishna is being careful. Pita aham asya jagataha mata dhata. I am the mata, which means I am the mother. I am also the protector, the dhata. I am also the great grandfather, Pitamaha. In Mahabharata, Bhishma was known as Pitamaha, grandfather. So I am that great grandfather. I am that grandfather. I am the Pitamaha, which means what it means. I am the father and I'm also the grandfather means it's that it's not. Again, the question will come. Oh, okay,
I
if you're
transcend time, Mari. Yeah.
Huh?
I transcend time.
I transcend time, correct. Which means I don't stop with just being the father and the mother. I am also I am the creator of all of this. Right? Obviously, you'll stop there. Right? I'm also the father, I'm the grandfather. No, okay, kollu tata yaru, ellu tata yaru, appadi illa. It doesn't mean that that you keep asking like the in Tarpanam you do, right, the three generations, this side, that side. It's not like keeping asking, oh, okay, then it means to say that I am the what you can think of as the cause of all of this creation. I am the father, I am the mother, I am the sustainer of all of this creation. Pita aham asya jagatah mata dhata pitamaha vedyam, which means I am the goal of knowledge, which means you need to know this truth needs to be known. Pavitram omkara, the sacred omkara aham, I am that omkara. I am Rig Yaju Sama eva. Rig Yaju Sama are I am that. Karanakarta. Yes, Mama. He is the Karanakarta. He is the Vedanta. There is something called as upadhi um, there are three kinds of causes. One is the Sundar Mama, you remember the one is upadhi karanam, the nimitta karanam, and there's a third karanam. So the one who does it is the nimitta karana, the instrument. Upadhi, no, sorry, the one who does it is the nimitta. The upadhi is the tools that you use, and the
Upadana Karanam.
Upadana Karanam, correct. Nimitta Karanam, Upadana Karanam. And what is the third one? We do a quick check. Upadana Karanam is the material that you use, or the material that you use to create. Then Nimitta Karanam is through which, or the instrument with which you create. And the third one is let's look at this, and then let's move forward after this. Nimitta Karanam, Sahakari Karanam. Okay, there's another term. If my memory is failing me. Nimitta Karanam is the efficient cause. Sahakari Karanam or Nimitta Karanam, which is the efficient cause. And then you have the
ரெண்டு காரணம் தானே. ஒன்னு உபாதான காரணம், நிமித்த காரணம். அதான்.
There is a third one. I'm forgetting that. One is correct. So simply in simple terms, it's the material that you use and the one who does that, right? So when my mama said Karana Karta, Upadhi, which is the material.
Upadana Karanam, efficient cause. Nimitta Karanam.
Nimitta Karanam is the one who does it. Like, for example, the usual example is used the mud pot and the potter using clay to create the mud pot, right? So, like Mama said, Karana Karta, the mind kind of went there. So there are these kinds of karanams, different kinds of karanams, to show that I am the cause of what you see. It's like the example of in Mandukya, in Mundaka Upanishad, the example of the spider. Where the spider spins off the web from within itself. The saliva it uses is from the spider. The web that comes out is from its own saliva. And so the upadhi and the nimitta both are the same. Upadhana and the nimitta both are the same. The efficient cause or the material that you use is the spider, and who does it, nimitta, is the spider. So both are the spider. In the same way, the example is shown how the creator or Bhagavan is both. He is also the world, and he's also he's the material in the world, and he's also the creator of this world.
The creation but he's a causeless cause. Yeah, Brahman is a causeless cause.
Causeless cause, yes.
So creation and the entire dissolution.
There is no, absolutely, it happens within him. So there is no there is no cause beyond this cause. So, which is the example of Pitamaha. It means to say, his Pitamaha means he is the cause of all causes. So he is Pita, Mata, Dhata, Pitamaha. And he is also Vedyam, which means the one that you try to attain, the knowledge that you try to attain. Pavitram Omkara Rik Sama Yaju Yajus Evacha, which means he is Rik Sama Yajus, which means he is the Vedas. The three Vedas or Chaturveda. Three Vedas are usually what is used, referred in the Vedas. And he is also the Omkara. So Omkara is the origination of sound, the primordial sound. And from Om comes the Vedas. So he is Om, which is the source of sound, and he's also the Vedas, the output that comes as Vedas. So he's also the original cause, and he's also the effect. He's the cause and the effect. He's Omkara, he is also the Vedas. Right? He's also the cause and the effect. So that is important to notice here, right? Which means if you're seeing the effect, that is Bhagavan. That's Krishna. That is the Lord. Where did it come from? If you look back at the cause, that is also Bhagavan. That is also Krishna. That is also Narayana. Right? Both. So like the clay and the potter, both are Bhagavan. Right? So like the example of the spider. So he says, I am Vedyam, I am the one to be known, which means since I am the cause and the effect, if you got to know me, or if you got to know the cause and the effect, you will know me. Or if you know me, then you know what is the effect and the cause both. Material science can only take you back to so much. So you look at the effect of the world, oh, there must be a creator. So if there's a plant that's growing, there must be a seed. There must be a seed, then you go back, where did the seed come from? Of course, it came from a fruit. Where did the fruit come? You go back, you'll go back to the plant again. Right? So it keeps going that way. So in the material world, if you start evaluating the cause and effect, you can only get so much. But there's something that is causing all of this to be created, to be sustained, and to be destroyed. That he says is me. So he says, you can find me through the effect Rigyajasama, which is the Vedas, the world. Or you can go to Vedanta, which is Omkara, and you can find me there also, the cause, the Akshara Brahma. Right? So with that, he brings us to the 17th verse. Aham
ஆதித்ய ஹிருதயம்ல
Katuraham
கூட இருக்குல்ல இந்த ரிக்யஜு சாமபாரகஹ.
Aditya Hridayamla, Ama. Rigyajusama Paragaha. Many places in Vedic chants, etc., you will see only these three Vedas referred to as the Vedic corpus, because Atharvana Veda is essentially an extract of all of this in a way, right? And it came much later. The Vedic corpus is usually Rigyajusama. So he says, Aham Kraturaham Yajnaha Swadhaham Aham Aushadham Mantroham Ahame Vajyam Aham Agnir Aham Hutam Pitaham Asya Jagato Mata Dhata Pitamaha Vedyam Pavitram Omkara Ruksama Yajurevacha. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyerva Buddhyatmana Va Prakrite Swabhavat Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanayeti Samarpayami Sadashivayeति samarpayami jagadambikayeति samarpayami sadgurunathayeti samarpayami Hari Om Tat Sadgurubhyo Namaha.